What is something you will never tell your parents about? Story 1. That they would have been grandparents about a decade ago. I had only been with my then girlfriend about 3 months. She moved a few hours away for her job and we were doing the long distance thing. Then we learned she was pregnant. I was still in my early 20s, no clear direction, career goals, etc. It was frightening to say the least. After the initial shock and WTF had worn off, I was starting to get excited about the prospect, but I had no idea how to tell my parents. I know that probably sounds strange, but I was the youngest and kind of the black sheep. I was positive that if I told them right away it would just been seen as another fudge up. So, I found a job where she lived. A week before I moved, she had a miscarriage. I still moved. However, the relationship kind of deteriorated after that. We were both depressed and communication shut down. Within a month, I was looking for my own place in a new city where I knew next to no one. They still have no idea to this day that they were almost grandparents. Which is something they desperately want. My sibling has only a stepchild and won't be having kids beyond that. They want a flesh and blood grandchild. I'm now into my late 30s. While I've had my share of relationships good and bad, some long, some short, I am starting to wonder if it's just not going to happen, the whole family thing. Story 2. When I was a junior in high school, I bought my dog at a flea market for $20, rubbed some dirt on her, brought her home, and told my parents she was a stray I found at a friend's house. They still have no idea. Would it matter if you did tell them now? Why never? Well, I told my sister, who told my nieces, who told everyone else in my family. And somehow my parents still don't know. So now we're just seeing how long we can keep the secret from them. I was 16 when I got her and I'm 20 now, so we've kept the secret for 4 years now. My family is weird. Story 3. My grandparents raised me. My grandfather took me to their church to sign me up for church camp. When he was inside signing the paperwork, he told me to go get the truck. 13-year-old me was super excited. I put the truck in reverse, hit the gas, then went to hit the brake and didn't move my foot and hit the gas again. Crunch right into a car. I panicked, went to put the car in drive. I don't know what happened, but I never put the car in drive, hit the gas and crunched some more. My grandfather's F-150 on a Crown Vic and the only thing scratched was the plastic on the top of my bumper. But the right tail light of the Crown Vic was demolished. I pulled away and prayed no one saw. My prayers were answered. A week later at church camp the pastor gave a sermon on how someone hit his car and was going to hell for not fessing up. I guess I am going to hell. I will never tell them. Story 4. My mother thinks I graduated university with a master's degree 4 years ago. She was so proud of me that she got a mortgage on her home to buy me a car. I actually never graduated, but I lied to my place of employment as well, and luckily it was never questioned, and since I'm pretty well self-educated in my field it never was an issue. I still pay her $200 a week just to help out. Spoiler, your mom knows and is waiting for the right moment to murder you with guilt. Buying you a car was a test. I'm pretty sure she has absolutely no idea. I am on a 6-figure income for a well-known company, doing some fairly technical work. Story 5. Story time. I went to hockey camp when I was 16 and at hockey camp you don't masturbate. Ever. Imagine a 16-year-old man, 2 weeks of no jerking off, I'm about ready to explode. When I get home, I rush up to my room and start doing the deed. I was about halfway through my masturbatory session when I realize, oh no. I have nowhere to blow this load. No tissues, no towel, nothing. So, in my infinitely creative teenage mind, I figure if I blow it into the carpet and rub it in with my foot the semen will disappear, so I did. Unbeknownst to me, semen stained a yellowish-greenish color in this particular brand of carpet. 2 days later, my friend and I are downstairs hanging around. All of a sudden, my mom comes down and says, "Buzzy Mew Mew, you need to quit drinking Mountain Dew upstairs. You spilled it all over the carpet and I had to clean it all up." Edit, my mother doesn't actually call me Buzzy Mew Mew, that's just my Reddit name. Sorry to disappoint guys. Story 6. Guy I know went to a mechanic school. His dad wrote him the check for like $30,000 and had to come out of retirement. His dad was older, had a family and got divorced and started a new one. Anyways, he dropped out so early that they gave him his money back. Instead of telling his dad the truth, he continued to live in Sacramento with his friends for 2 years and used the money to buy a brand new sports car, a Subaru WRX STI, a $34,000 car. Then he moved back home and told his dad he finished and even worked as a mechanic, but it just wasn't what he wanted to do with his life. I knew a guy with a similar story. He was the first in his family to graduate college, and from MIT, no less. His dad was so proud of him, he wrote a letter to MIT to ask for a duplicate of his son's diploma, so he could hang it up. He mentioned in the letter all the great opportunities that had been opened to his son because of it, his great job and the grad school he'd been accepted to. MIT wrote back, basically said, "Your son is a fudging liar, thanks for telling us everyone we need to call." Story 7. That I was raped in the shower on a study abroad trip by another student. He was drunk at the time and was waiting in the shower room for me. We were in a hostel. I shower at night and he knew this. Edit, here's my story so you all can read it. I'm sure some of you think I just made this up for internet points, but whatever. After the first day of classes, some of the students threw a party for all of us study abroad kids. There was ample liquor and they had us play drinking games where the winners took shots. Needless to say, soon everyone was extremely drunk. I had fun but didn't drink that much. Soon we were all back in our hostel for the night. Everyone pretty much passed out or was talking in the hallways. I went into my room to get my shower stuff ready. I had all my things gathered and walked down the hall to the shower and walked into the big shower room. The boy who did this to me, by the way, was not from my school. He was from a different country. He was sitting on the bench in the room. I was confused and tried to talk to him, but he stood up and grabbed me and started kissing me, and I dropped my shampoo and stuff that I was carrying in and tried to push him away. He started laughing and said something along the lines of, "Why are you being so shy?" And I kept screaming, "Get off me. Go to bed," but he wouldn't listen. He eventually pushed me to a wall and was like attacking my face with his tongue, and I was making these gurgling noises and started shouting that I was on my period because he started to unbutton the dress I was wearing. Now he was saying shift like, "You're such a dirty whore, you stupid American." I broke away twice and ran for the door, but he grabbed my hair and slammed me against the wall again. Meanwhile I am screaming my head off, hoping someone else is awake or the rooms down the hall can hear me. He had my dress front completely unbuttoned and it was halfway off me, with him on me, when one of the guys from my school busted in the bathroom and punched him in the face and told him to leave me alone. The fudging a-hole just laughed and walked out. He claimed to not remember anything about that night, the whole time we were there, but I always noticed him watching me. This was my fudging very first day at school. I had to spend 3 weeks there being terrified and scared to talk to anyone about it. The only person who knew was my friend who saved me. I became really close with him after that, and what sucked was everyone in the rest of our group thought I was having an affair with him because he was married. Fudge people. I'm still frightened of showering when men are around. Story 8. My mother was one of those ladies who always spent a crap ton of money on useless kitchen items that have only one super specific use that she herself never even needed. One of these items that she bought and loved dearly was a $15 Pampered Chef melon baller. Anyway, one time when I was 14, I was so constipated that I thought I was going to die. I was so embarrassed and really didn't know what the fudge was going on that I felt like I couldn't tell anyone. It was so bad, I thought my internal organs were rejecting my body and trying to flee via my butthole. I didn't poop for 3 days. Eventually, I got up the courage to try and get it out and over with because I was getting so backed up that I stopped eating. In the process of trying to deliver this poop baby, it got stuck halfway. I panicked and hoarse walked around my house looking for anything to help me. Then I saw it sitting on the kitchen counter, shiny and new. So, I grabbed some liquid soap, lubed up the melon baller and shoved it up my packed backside. I don't know what the fudge I was thinking, all I know was I was in pain and in panic mode. By golly, that melon baller was worth every damn penny, scooped my poop right out and gave me an intense feeling of relief that I haven't felt since. God is my witness, my mother came home that day with watermelon and honeydew just so she could use her new melon baller. 12 years on and I have never mentioned it, and my mother thinks that I hate all types of melons due to my refusal to ever eat her summer melon ball salad that has since become a staple. Story 9. I found the sex tape of my mom and dad, not knowing what it was, I played it. To this day, I feel like I'm going to puke when I think about it. Stop lying, you watched the whole thing and that's how you found out your father was into pegging. I watched maybe 5 minutes. There were no faces at first. Didn't really know who it was until I saw my dad and mom naked come into frame. The second I realized it was my mom and dad, I flipped out and shut it off. Story 10. One night when I was young, I was curious what anal sex felt like, so I stuck a dog bone up my ass. It felt as painful as it did shameful, so I pulled that poop-covered bone out and quietly buried it in the backyard, in the dark. A year or so later my mom was gardening and found it and gave it back to the dog. I wouldn't tell my mom if I got boned either. Story 11. I will never tell my parents that I had an abortion. My boyfriend and I were both in school with no way of affording a child, and I went on probation when I got a 1.9 GPA for the semester. I had gone into such a huge depression that I just stopped going to class because I couldn't drag myself out of bed. My mom's insurance got billed from the place, so I told her I had a miscarriage. She had me at 18, so I couldn't tell her the truth. My dad and all of my siblings have no idea that I've ever been pregnant. 4 months after the abortion, my mom told us she was 2 months pregnant. My dad spent her pregnancy jokingly telling me he was ready to be a grandpa, not a father again, and not to get pregnant because he didn't want 2 babies running around. Story 12. I could never tell my parents that I worked as an escort during university. I earned more money than both of them combined. They thought I got a great deal on my rent and had a large grant from my student loan. Story 13. That before I was married, I was in more relationships with men than women. My parents adopted me and are now 76 and 82. They would never understand. Similar to me, I suppose, I've only ever done stuff with guys, though I tend to prefer women. Parents know nothing about it, of course, they're solid homophobic. Story 14. I'm sorry I told everyone about that time you got diarrhea in Barnes & Noble, and I'm sorry for repeating it again now. Is it just me, or does everyone feel like they need to poop as soon as they walk into a bookstore?